Welcome into the Paul Kuharsky podcast. I'm Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com. Eager to talk about Terrell Williams as the Titans head coach for their preseason opener, about observations I've got about some of the Titans wide receivers, and to share with you a short conversation I had with long shot quarterback Anthony Kendall. Let's get right to work. I'm brought to you by Jasper's, a great restaurant and bar on West End. Terrell Williams, Mike Vrabel shared with us earlier this week, is the head coach starting Friday through the preparations and the travel for the game against the Bears. And on Saturday, for the entire game against the Bears, press conference afterwards, Vrabel will resume his duties with the press conference with us back in Nashville on Sunday. It's a rather fascinating development. I have a lot of thoughts. Tony Dews, who's now the tight end coach, who had previously been the running back coach for Mike Vrabel, has been at least twice the Titans representative in the Accelerator program, which is one way the league has come up with to help minority coaching candidates get exposure to NFL owners that they otherwise wouldn't get. And it's something that helped Rand Carthon with Amy Adams Strunk, who had met him initially at this program that goes on at owners meetings. So that's one way for a minority coaching candidate to get something. But one question that any potential first-time head coach is going to face in interviews with ownership and management is, how are you going to handle real-time game situations, clock management, analytic decisions in the moment, multiple voices in your headset, interactions with officials. And Terrell Williams, given this chance by Mike Vrabel in an interview like that for head coach or defensive coordinator, with these added responsibilities, will be able to say, I did that all one time. And here is how I handled those things in this one opportunity. Granted, a preseason game, not a regular season game, but here's what I learned. And here are the things that I can take away from those experiences and that I know that I need to have more answers for, that I need to investigate further and be more ready for the next time I'm in that situation. That's valuable stuff. Initially, I had some doubts about this, about Vrabel giving this away, about an owner being willing to see her highest paid, person on her staff giving away his power, about it establishing even further the meaninglessness of the preseason, for which fans are expected to pay still a hefty price, even if it's a lesser price. But the more I've thought about it, the more intelligent an idea it seems to be to me with this experience. The NFL has all of these committee meetings and big think sessions to come up with real life ways to help candidates put themselves in the best possible position to be viable, or to appear more viable to owners and decision makers. And Mike Vrabel thinks this up on his own at some point during the offseason. He has a good idea. He implements it. Boom. He doesn't take it to the league and run it through committees and all of that. He does it. And here he is with a little bit more on his rationale for coming up with this.
One thing I can't concern myself with is what other people think or say. My intent was to do what was best for T in this situation. It wasn't to send any sort of message. This wasn't anything. I did what I thought was best for him and for us at this particular time. That's what I wanted to do, and it's well deserved. It's earned. It's Yeah. And again, even like today, we had him go through this, talk to the officials about, the officials meeting that happens 90 minutes before the game. And, I didn't know what the hell to do the first time we met with the officials. They asked for the punt card. I'm like, where the hell's the punt card? I mean, something little as that. And just, just making sure that we give application to things that we're trying to coach and to teach and develop each one of our coaches and players here.
People in the NFL are not shy about copying good ideas. And they shouldn't be shy about copying this idea. I think it'll be predominantly for minorities who need the exposure, but I could see non-minorities getting the exposure as well, getting the opportunity. Um, Really, you could do it with anyone. For Terrell Williams, who's 49, I don't think he's jumping to a head coaching job from the defensive side of the ball where it's harder to get head coaching opportunities. The next step for him would be as a defensive coordinator. And maybe that step would be in Nashville, where Shane Bowen might wind up being a more attractive head coaching candidate around the league if he winds up coordinating a top flight defense in Nashville as a guy who's been more visible and had a better title and bigger responsibilities for a couple of years now. And Terrell Williams could step up into the void created by Shane Bowen moving on, have a chance at more experience like this perhaps, and then be in line after some time as a defensive coordinator to be interviewed as a head coaching candidate. But it's hard to find much fault with this idea. I know some of you will, and that's your prerogative. But Mike Vrabel, again, to me, showing that he's smart and innovative. I hope his offense, under the leadership of Tim Kelly, shows itself to be equally innovative this season. Some receiver observations for this team, which remains a key position. And DeAndre Hopkins and Treylon Burks, clearly the 1 and 2. Kyle Phillips is the 3, not the third outside guy, but the first slot guy for sure. But I've noticed him. No, he's clearly the top guy in the slot. He's doing a good job getting open, and I think there's a definite comfort level between Ryan Tannehill and Kyle Phillips. Last year, though, you remember he was making defensive backs look really foolish. He was new, and he was a surprise. He had that stop and start and stutter that was just destroying people in short areas. Flailing and stumbling out of their back pedals and tripping over their feet. I've not seen as much of that this year in camp so far, though he's still getting open. And though I think he's a key player for this team and going to be a key player for this team, provided he stays healthy. Last year he had a shoulder from an injury in the opener where he was an effective player. And then right when he was ready to come back from the shoulder, he suffered a hamstring injury that he felt like he was close to coming back from in the later weeks of the season, but never made it back from. As I've thought about it, though, here's what I think's going on. It's not that he's lost any quickness as he's put on a couple of pounds and gotten stronger or anything like that. He's going against a higher caliber of defensive back, right? Right from the start this year. Whereas last year, he comes in, he's a dues-paying 5th-round rookie, playing behind Robert Woods, Treylon Burks, a 3rd-year Nick Westbrook-Akina, a 2nd-year Des Fitzpatrick, who was a 4th-rounder, and a 2nd-year Racey McMath. So he was 6th, even if he was a high slot option. And there was a clip. I went and found it. I looked at it. I put it out July 29th last year. So it just celebrated its 1-year anniversary. It was a practice in the bubble where he ran a short route that he broke off with, just so crisply. Sharp stop, grabbed the throw from Tannehill, and the defender flew past him and took a long time to recover. His name, Kenneth George. Well, he's not drawing the comparable defensive back to Kenneth George now. He's getting Roger McCreary a lot of the time when they're playing ones versus ones. He's drawing Elijah Molden, who works in the slot as well as at safety now. It's a tougher go for Kyle Phillips. Kenneth George is now a member of the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the Canadian Football League. Looking for a bad camp? The first guy I would point to is Nick Westbrook-Akine. He's dropped a lot of passes, and he's not been particularly sharp. That doesn't mean he's not making the team. I think he's absolutely making the team. Chris Moore is a better version of Nick Westbrook-Akine, I think. But NWI still ranks, I believe, as the fourth outside receiver behind Hopkins, Burks, and Moore. And I think he's the second slot receiver behind Phillips. Maybe a bit redundant, but this team needs redundancy at key positions now, the kind of depth that it lacked last year when things really crumbled with the injuries. He's a good piece of the team. His hands will come back. He's never been a phenomenal hands guy, and this camp is a bit reminiscent of his first camp, which was what now he's going into his fourth year. And he didn't have great hands in that first camp, but the Titans liked him a lot. But he needs to get back to being more reliable and more dependable. Racey McMath's clock is running out to me. He's got 4 career catches. I don't know why people still hold out such hope for him. I know he's a good gunner, doesn't tackle well, but he can get off the line with his speed and some technique. There was a play this week that I tweeted about where Malik Willis broke out to the right, saw him in front of him, breaking to the right sideline, put a ball out there. He had a good deal of separation, and he only put out his left hand. His other hand never came to help him with the ball. It bounced hard off of his hand. No softness to it whatsoever. He could have left his feet for a hard stretch or dived to try to collect it. It did not feel like a maximum effort thing. It was not the kind of play a guy on the roster fence needs to put on film there. And I thought it just kind of illustrated what Racey McMath is and isn't now. He's making his share of catches and stuff, but there's a chance to do something big, substantial, significant, and he couldn't or didn't or wouldn't do what was necessary. Reggie Robertson, I think has gotten a lot of notes. He's got good speed, and he's showing more. ACL, was back in 2020. You wouldn't think it would have had a bearing on him in 2022, but I think it did. Maybe it was in his head. He looks better. The trouble is virtually all of what he's done has been on the third team. He's got a connection with Will Levis. Well, Will Levis isn't going to be the starting quarterback on this team, so his connection with Will Levis, I don't know that means a lot in terms of him making the roster. Maybe a little bit of this has been with Malik Willis. I don't think any of it's been with Ryan Tannehill. He needs to earn himself some chances higher to prove himself. I won't be surprised at all if he's got a productive game in Chicago and he's next in line in the Titans fan receiver love list for doing something in a preseason game that doesn't mean a lot, except maybe getting him some more chances higher up. Vrabel's been complimentary of him, but also mentioned that the defense has simply failed to cover him a couple times when he's gotten free downfield. Now, that's not his fault, but you'd rather make that catch with somebody in your vicinity than making it when coverage has broken down. You do your job, but when the other guy's not doing his job, he's not helping you out because it's become too easy for you. I'm brought to you by Jasper's, as you see up here over my shoulder, a fine restaurant on West End Avenue, an affordable restaurant, great food and drinks. Get the Cuban sandwich, get the bolognese. You can go there for lunch, take a business lunch, take a business dinner, take a date for dinner, take your wife or your husband for dinner, take your family for dinner. It's a very versatile, flexible place. Free parking, which is a big deal in this area. It's kind of right between downtown and midtown. Free game room where you can, beat somebody up at Pop-A-Shot or air hockey or skee ball. Great cocktail menu, cold beer, the whole deal. I can't recommend it highly enough. And I appreciate their sponsorship of me. And I would hope in due turn, you would make an extra stop there or check them out if you haven't had the pleasure already. An excellent, excellent stop. Speaking of excellent value, paulkuharsky.com is on sale right now for training camp. 25% off. You get everything I write. You get Mike Herndon's weekly column, which is worth it just on its own. You get Blake Bedingfield's scouting previews and scouting reviews of all of the Titans games, which come from a guy who scouted for the Titans for 19 years and brings a scouting eye to things. You get private video chats with me during the week. And then once I'm in the press box for regular season games, certainly from the press box sometime after the game with reaction from the locker room and what everybody has said. 25% off comes down for a yearly rate, very inexpensive, and certainly an element you want to layer into the Titans coverage that you read, watch, and listen to. So come join us. I promise you it will be worth the money. I also encourage you, if you haven't been listening, Robbie Stanley is a new father, and he is home tending to his daughter and his wife. And I've been filling in with Joe Rexroad on Robbie and Rexroad on 102.5 The Game in Nashville. I'll be doing that for almost the rest of the week before Robbie returns to work. So Joe and I are having a big time. I'm really loving being back on the radio for 3 hours at a time, even if it includes a 4:45 wake-up call. Come check it out. And if you like it, tell 102.5 The Game and Chase McCabe that you're enjoying it. And that would be helpful to me. Two quicker notes on the Titans. They put out a video this week to help get people excited about getting in line for PSLs for the new stadium. Gives you a better feel about how the sides that we've seen of the stadium kind of match up to the translucent roof of the indoor stadium that should be ready in 2027 as the new home field of the Tennessee Titans. It would be great if they got an early sponsorship name on this thing, so we didn't just call it New Titans Stadium, which feels a little stiff. But you see how it fits into the cityscape, and you get your initial feeling of kind of the concourses and some of the nicer areas inside the stadium. It's pretty cool, and I'm sure it's going to be pretty pricey. But if you haven't seen that, check it out. I took some still shots of the cityscape with this indoor stadium layered in. It's an interesting look. People have mixed reviews on it. I like it. I think it's weird that it's a square instead of a rectangle, and I've had trouble with that in some baseball parks in Arizona and in Houston, where it feels like it should be more rectangular and it's more square, even though a baseball diamond is technically, I guess, a square. So I wonder if it'll be an odd adjustment to feel like you're walking into a square to sit at a rectangle. At any rate, Malik Willis in a 2-minute drill. Earlier this week, they were working on 2-minute situations, and he was letting the play clock dwindle. And with about 8 seconds left, Vrabel said, "Gotta go, Malik, gotta go, Malik." And Malik showed no urgency. He was still standing behind the line, talking to some people, waving his arm, and he didn't get anywhere close to going on time. And I really was unimpressed with his lack of urgency. Does he not hear Vrabel? Does he not understand that when the coach is chiming in to that degree, that there's a call for some immediacy to his action? I asked Mike Vrabel about it.
He's in the building. There's a presence to him, kind of bopping around, and that's the biggest thing to me is, that he's there and not just.
That's the wrong Mike Vrabel audio, and that's complimentary audio of Malik having more of a presence about him, which Malik Willis definitely does. But regarding the 2-minute drive thing, he kind of said like we had to expose him to the 2-minute drill, which made it almost sound like Malik Willis had not been exposed to 2-minute drill. Well, a couple days earlier, Malik Willis had run a very effective 2-minute drill in the bubble. Malik Willis was in 2-minute situations in games. Last year, he was in 2-minute situations in practice. He was in 2-minute situations in training camp last year. Maybe he was kind of saying in Tim Kelly's 2-minute situations, but it seemed odd to me. What he did say is like, if it happens again, then there is a problem. So what we do is coach the mistake now and make sure it doesn't happen again. So I get that, but I thought it was an odd issue to creep in. And I think Will Levis, while they've both been playing progressively better, I think Willis is playing more progressively better. And I think he's doing it situationally. I think he's handled 2-minute very well. And I think he's handled red zone very well. And the Titans put a premium on both of those things. And I think Willis perhaps is separating himself with his work in those situations, 2-minute and red zone. And so I would continue to keep an eye on those things. Anthony Kendall is wearing number 40. He is a defensive back out of Baldwin Wallace, an undrafted rookie free agent. He picked Malik Willis in the red zone, throwing for Chig Okonkwo at one point. And he's gotten his hands on a few other passes along the way. And so he's kind of, because he's a heavy underdog, drawn my attention a little bit. And when he agreed to spend a few minutes with me on here for this podcast, I'm no rookie. I went to Sean Murphy-Bunting, a veteran, and asked him about Kendall. He praised his game and his learning curve and the like. But I also asked Sean Murphy-Bunting for a scouting report on Kendall, not as a player, but as a podcast guest. I used the term pre-prediction when the word prediction would have sufficed just fine. So there's a pre-edit of this little clip of SMB. Give me a pre-prediction on what kind of podcast guest you think he'll be.
A podcast guest, he's gonna be a little laid back. I don't know, you might get him a little loose. He's gonna be a little laid back, quiet. He probably won't have too much to say, but I bet his braids will be fresh.
Counsel me on how to get him to loosen up.
How to get him to loosen up? Probably crack some jokes with him at the beginning. See if he can loosen up, get a smile on his face. He's a smiler, so if you get one smile, you'll be good.
Might be audio only. I might not get to see you.
Ooh.
Tough assignment?
Might be a little tough assignment there. You're gonna have to just see how you roll the dice there.
What's a good joke topic at the start?
Anything. You gotta just give a good joke. You gotta be a good joke teller.
Okay.
The delivery is everything.
All right, so that's on me.
It's on you. You gotta deliver it. You gotta deliver it properly, and then get a crack out of them, and you'll be all right.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's not audio only. I did take a tripod out there, set up my camera, and I played for Anthony Kendall that clip that you just saw. So before we began this conversation, I showed him Sean Murphy-Bunting coaching me on how to have Anthony Kendall as a podcast guest. And then we went into this. And just like that, with advice from Sean Murphy-Bunting, Anthony Kendall joins me. What did you think of Sean's advice?
Oh, man. Sean had some good advice. Told me I was going to have some fresh braids. He wasn't wrong about that. But, yes, Sean's a funny guy.
All right, I came with a joke. He said I needed to loosen you up with a joke. So how do you get 100 math teachers in a room that only fits 99?
How?
You carry the one.
Big math guy.
I got a chuckle. Baldwin Wallace, I know you had a great grade point average in high school between, and Clote you finished at, but you did your first 3 years at River Ridge High School, and you had a 4.1 overall.
Yeah, vice versa.
Vice versa. Yeah. I flipped the schools. Where did you get the .1?
.1 had to have been an AP class. Those classes carry a little bit more credits.
So that's a hell of a grade point average. And
that.
You played basketball, weightlifted, and ran track. What kind of weightlifter were you?
So we did bench press, and then we did power cleans. So those are the two events.
You were a late bloomer. How late?
I'd say I was 5'6" until my senior year of high school, and then I ended up getting a growth spurt that senior year.
That got you to 5?
About 5'10", 5'11".
I'm standing on a little bit of a down. I'm on a little bit of a down slope, right? So your issue was getting into a pro day, right?
Correct.
From Baldwin Wallace Division III, you needed to be seen. So how did you get yourself? You wound up going to a couple, right?
Yes, sir. 3. Yeah, I was able to get into 3. I'd say that the season accolades kind of helped me out a lot, as well as my coach, Coach Hilbert. Shout out to him. He was able to help me out get into a couple of pro days.
Which ones did you go to?
I went to Ashland University's pro day. I went to Youngstown State's, and then the
Bucks had a workout?
Toledo's. And I went to a Bucks workout. Yes, sir.
So that worked out pretty well. You caught people's attention. 4.44 run, 39.5 vert, 20 bench, which is a lot for a little guy, right? You pride yourself on that.
Yes, sir.
And an 11-foot broad jump. That gets people's attention. But still, you came out of the draft and you thought you were going to have to go to some tryouts. Where were you going? To the Browns?
Yeah, the Browns had invited me, as well as the New York Jets.
And so what was the timetable on the Titans calling to sign you?
Honestly, about 2 days later, 2 days after those invitations.
So Tuesday or Wednesday after the draft?
I'd say around Wednesday. It was pretty far back.
So that's a long wait.
Yeah.
So what kind of long shot do you consider yourself?
As far as
sticking around here after cut day?
I'm just really trying to make the most of the opportunity, trying to earn a spot or a role on this team, whether that be special teams. But really I'm just taking it day by day, trying to earn a spot on this team.
So you had an interception in the bubble on Friday.
Yes, sir.
Defending Chig. So that's a big rep right there that you're on the field defending Chig, because you've been running lower in the rotation, which is what an undrafted rookie DB is going to do here.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that play and how you read it, red zone rep.
Yeah, so we were doing 2v2. I was working with Mike, and we just switched off. Quarterback kind of underthrew the ball a little bit and just went up and caught the ball. And
then you had a breakup here yesterday that I saw on the sideline. How many other balls have you gotten your hands on?
A couple, man. You win some, you lose some. Just out here trying to compete, make the most of the opportunity I have.
How do you feel like you're doing?
I think I'm slowly progressing. I've got a lot to learn coming from D3. It's a big transition between the terminology, the speed of the game, and just, trying to take the coaching, learning from the older guys, and just trying to take it day by day.
Do you come in worried about feeling like you might not fit in, and how quickly do you get to a point where you're like, yeah, I can work with these guys?
Yeah, I'd say OTAs was a great period of time to kind of get adjusted to the speed of the game, and as well as learning the defensive scheme, and then now transitioning and kind of learning how the offense works, so I'm able to play faster. But like I said, just trying to take every day, and then as well as studying the film when we're not on the field.
You had a chance or chances at the end of Baldwin Wallace to go D1, which would have helped your profile, obviously. Could have got you in position to get a deal quicker, or maybe turn into a 7th round draft pick. I don't know. What schools were after you at that stage?
Honestly, no schools were after me. I didn't get into any type of transfer portal. After the junior season, I talked to my coach Hilbert, and he said he'd be happy to have me come back. And so I wanted to go ahead and try to get a ring, and so I just stuck with it and finished where I started.
And you just missed the ring, right?
Oh yeah, unfortunately. Talk about that.
Fifth. So your high school, back to you. We'll finish up with your high school career. You were fifth in the 300-meter hurdles in the Florida State High School Championships.
Correct.
How much did you miss medaling by?
Probably about 30 meters.
Oh, it was a ways?
They got me. I ain't gonna lie. I kind of was a little slow at the gate, didn't gauge it too right, but I ended up closing that gap towards the end.
How much track helped your football?
Oh, it helped me tremendously. I wish I would have done it in college, honestly, but it helped me tremendously. I'd say I'm a pretty fast guy on the field, so it's helped me a lot.
Number 40, Anthony Kendall, is getting his hands on some balls. He's an interesting guy to watch for at the back of the DBs. I'm taking an interest because I've seen you make some plays. So I'm waiting for your move up the depth chart, and I'm interested to see what happens. I appreciate you spending a couple minutes with me.
I appreciate you for having me, man.
Good luck. Thanks for laughing at my joke, whether it was funny or not.
No doubt. Thank you.
Anthony Kendall.
So there's somebody to look for, number 40. He'll have his name on the back of the jersey, unlike at practice against the Bears. I'd say third, fourth quarter. Maybe we'll see him have a chance to do something. And if he does something, maybe we'll see him move up the depth chart. Probably a practice squad candidate coming from a school as small as that. I mean, heck, they spent a 7th round pick on a receiver from UT Martin, nowhere near as small as Baldwin Wallace. In Colton Dow, and he's probably more of a practice squad option than an option for the roster. But appreciate Anthony Kendall spending a little bit time with me. I appreciate you spending time with me. Don't block the box. Be sure to lock your locks and sign up for paulkuharski.com. Take care.